Hey guys, Kyla at the MJC again, and this time we are going to go through the proposed parenting plan from the information on residents all the way through healthcare providers and healthcare expenses. So, before I get into that, as always, just a reminder to you guys that nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. It is a video, so I'm not able to analyze your specific situation and determine whether this form is correct for your situation, to determine whether a court is likely to approve your agreement or proposal, or to talk about whether your agreement or proposal is in your best interest. So if you do have questions about any of those things, I would definitely recommend getting some legal advice. You can get brief legal advice for free here in Milwaukee County through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics. If you are not located in Milwaukee County, you can get in touch with your clerk of courts to find out what resources are available in your area. All right, so let's hop into this residence section. So the residence section is one of the reasons that I recommended at the beginning that if you are joint, that you go ahead and designate one person as the leader, one person as the person who is filling this form out. It just makes these sections a little bit easier. So, for those of you who are filing separately, so you're doing this contested, you're the one filling out the paperwork, you're not working in a team with your spouse. I currently reside, you're just going to put in your information. So you'll put in your address. I'm just going to get Jane's address here. City and state. And for those of you who are joint, then this is why I said pick one of you up here at the beginning to be the petitioner or the respondent. So whoever you've said is the petitioner or the respondent, or the person filling this form out, have the person who says they're filling out this form, even if you guys are going through and agreeing on it, have that person be I, and have the other person be the other party, even if you guys are sitting together filling this out and you're both going to sign it. If you are concerned about putting your address, you can indicate instead, you can select B and say, this is a domestic violence case, I don't want to give my specific address, but you'll want to give your general location. And obviously in that situation, you won't have A filled out. So your general location is Milwaukee, or Madison, or southeastern Wisconsin. But just kind of a general idea of where you're located. Because again, just Milwaukee by itself doesn't give someone a lot to track you down with. So they want to have just sort of a vague idea, a general idea of where you're located. Yes, so we've got that. Then you're going to include where the other person lives as well. So in this situation, you'll put the address. For those of you who are filing default, so default is where you had to serve by publication because you were unable to find your spouse despite using reasonable diligence and all that. We usually put the last known address here. And if you're not certain where the other person lives, again, we would recommend finding it if you can. Put the last address you had for them, the best address that you have. If for some reason you cannot possibly find an address, then you can go ahead and leave the address line blank, just put the city and state. But do note, as we've been saying, the more things that are blank, the more possibility there is that it won't be accepted by the clerk, or that you'll have problems when you get into court. So we've got that. And the next is future. So basically they want to know, do you plan to move? Because obviously if I plan to move to Texas tomorrow, the court might want to address that at my hearing. So here you're just going to put the address where you plan to be for the next 2 years. Keep in mind that you want to be honest. If you plan to leave, you should say you plan to leave. But if I put here that I plan to stay in Milwaukee for 2 years, and then a year and a half from now I get an awesome job offer that requires me to move to Minneapolis, this isn't saying that you absolutely won't move for 2 years. It's just saying right now your plan is to stay wherever, so that they've got that information. Obviously, if down the road you do plan to leave the state, you'll want to get some legal advice before you do so to make sure that you cross all your I's and dot all your T's. So if Jane plans to stay in the same place, I'm just repeating the zip code here, or I'm sorry, the address here. Again, if up above you selected B, then down here you would select B as well. And again, general location where you intend to be. For those of you that are planning to be somewhere other than your current address, you're going to put as much as you know about the new location. So if you know the exact address of your new place where you're going, put that. But some people don't know yet. So they know, well, I'm moving, but I'm still going to be in Milwaukee. In that situation, you could just go ahead and do it like this. You don't know the specific address, but you have the city and the state. If you don't plan to be in Milwaukee, and you're not sure of the city, but you're pretty sure you're moving to Texas, you can do that. Just put as much as you know about your next location. But we'll go ahead and say in our situation, Jane is going to stay put, or at least that's her plan. 206. Here you will put your employer's information. If you are not currently employed, you can just put NA. If you are currently employed, then you'll put that information here. And then here you're just going to put your days/hours. So if you're working 40 hours per week, you can put that. If you have a different schedule, you can put down your different schedule, but just sort of that basic information there. Again, if it is a DV case and you don't want to give your specific employment information on this form, you don't need to, but you're going to put where you work generally. So here, if Jane didn't want to list it up here, she could say, but where I generally work is Milwaukee. And here you're going to put as much as you know about the other person's employment. If for some reason again, for those of you who are going forward jointly, you need to put this, right? If you're working together, the other person can tell you where they're employed. If you are trying to go forward jointly, but you don't agree enough for the other person to give you their employer name, then you guys may end up having to go forward contested. It might be worth, again, getting some legal advice at that point. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But if you're not going forward jointly and you don't have that information, then you'll just put as much as you know. So the name, if you know the address, you're going to put the address. And again, some ways to find the address. You might try Googling it. That's a great way to see if you can find the address if you know the name of where they work. And then the city and state. Oh, too many E's. And then we'll do 532, I think it was 23. So you've got all that. If they aren't employed, but they have income from another source, you could put under employer name like from Social Security or something like that as well. Here, under the healthcare providers, you're going to put the specific healthcare providers for your kids. So if you have a particular doctor, Dr. Joe Smith, no relation to John Smith, of course, you'd put here. Or if it's a specific clinic, so maybe it's, Johnson Pediatric. Whatever that clinic might be. If they have a specific eye doctor or optometrist, you'll put it here. If not, you'll just put no specific. And you don't have to put it in all caps like I did. You can just do. Same thing, dentist or orthodontist, family dental. Or, again, if you don't have a specific one, no specific. Insurance or health plan, if any. So again, this is if you're wanting there to be a specific health plan. Health insurance plan. If not, just put no specific. Or some people will say through dad's job, in case it changes or something. Yep. And if you have other healthcare providers that aren't listed here, if the child has a specific therapist or something like that, that might go under this other line. Here, for expenses, who's going to pay for that health insurance? So if there's a premium, you'll go ahead and list that there, paid by me, paid by the other parent, or shared equally by both of us, keeping in mind that those of you who did this the weird joint way, me is whoever is our lead dog doing this one, and the other one is the other parent, even if you're sitting together filling this out. Another thing is if you have state insurance. So a lot of people will say, well, I have state insurance, there's no premium right now. There are different interpretations on that. I know some folks will say check number 4 and put state insurance. My personal belief is that you should put what you would do if there ended up being a fee for that insurance. So if your situation changed and suddenly you had to pay a premium for the state insurance, or if for some reason the child was no longer eligible for state insurance. Because as to the best of my knowledge, you and your other spouse can't agree to force the state to provide insurance. And so if there's if they can't get state insurance, or if there's a fee and you haven't checked one of these, then there won't be any clear indication of who should pay it. And so if you guys are fighting about that, you would have to come back into court to deal with that. So I would typically say, even if you have state insurance, just who would pay if down the line you do have to pay for an insurance premium. And so I cannot remember back to our health insurance section. So I'm just going to say shared equally by both of us. It's possible that that doesn't line up with previous videos. Sorry about that. And then here are the uninsured healthcare expenses, which you already addressed. If it's shared equally or if there was some different split, you'll do it like that. All right, that is all for this video. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have additional questions, you can always come in and see us during non-pandemic times at the Milwaukee Justice Center, located at 901 North 9th Street in room G9. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope that you all go out and represent yourselves well.